All right, so we're going to be looking at a linear system of word problems, okay? And previously we looked at being able to solve a system of linear equations by elimination, substitution, and graphing. And really those are just tools to help us to be able to solve these application questions, okay? Now the first round of word problems that we're going to look at, this part A, is finding when two situations are equal, okay? Perhaps maybe like a situation where when are we going to have an equal number of cost or maybe an equal number of hours, whatever it happens to be, in which case you're going to find when we write the equations, when we create the system of linear equations from these application questions, they're going to be written in the form y equals mx plus b, our slope-intercept form, okay? Where b represents, if you recall, where we start, okay? Where a given situation is going to start. It could be I'm taking a taxi and what is the starting cost to get into the taxi. And then M would be our rate of change, okay? How much is it going to cost per mile to take the taxi? And of course, just like I stated there in that sentence, a key word we often look for is per, okay? Per giving us a hint that maybe we're talking about the rate of change, okay? Now, in this situation here, we're given two different companies for sport that are selling sports drink, and what we want to do is read through the whole situation, see if we can get an idea of what's going on, then reread it, break it down into different key parts, then take the two situations, write down the key information for both situations, and see if we can create a system of equations from that. Okay, so let's read the situation that we have. It says the sales of Gizmo sports drink at the local supermarket are currently 6,500 bottles per month. Since New Age refreshers were introduced, the sales of Gizmo have been declining by 55 bottles per month. New Age currently sells 2,200 bottles per month, and its sales are increasing by 250 bottles per month. If the rates of change remain the same, in about how many months will the sales for both companies be the same? How many bottles will each company be selling at that time? Okay, so in this situation, like I talked about, notice the two questions here say if the rates of change remain the same, and about how many months will the sales for both companies be the same, okay? So that's what I was talking about here when we say we're finding when two situations are equal. In this case, they're talking about in how many months will the sales for both companies be the same. Okay, so let's go back and reread this. We have two different situations, two different sports drink companies here. We have Gizmo and we have New Age. And let's see if we can kind of break down the information we learned from both of these guys. Okay, so it says the Gizmo sports drink at the local supermarket are currently selling 6,500 bottles per month. Now, it does have the keyword per there that often indicates that we're dealing with a rate, but what I want you to notice earlier is that it said currently, as in right now, we are starting with 6,500 bottles per month. So this isn't our rate of change. This is what they're starting with that particular month. So currently, they have 6,500 bottles per month, okay? That's where we're starting. So we're starting with 6,500, okay, in terms of our total monthly sales of bottles. And then since the New Age refreshers came along, so this new company came along, the sales for Gizmo have been declining, okay? So it's been going down by 55 bottles per, now the keyword comes into play, month. Okay, so it's been declining by 55 bottles per month. So after each month passes, we're losing 55 bottles in sales. Okay, so it's declining 55 bottles per month. There we go. So we're declining by 55 bottles per month. Now, New Age, they're currently, there's that keyword we're looking for, they're currently selling 2,200 bottles per month, okay? So they are starting with 2,200 bottles per month, okay? So they're starting with 2,200 bottles per month. And their sales are increasing. Their sales are actually going up by 250 bottles per month. So as each month passes, they're selling 250 more every single month. So they're increasing by 250 per month. Okay, so now we have our two situations. We might have enough information here to start breaking down our slope-intercept form in terms of the two equations we need to write. Well, in the first situation and the second situation, what we're talking about is the total number of bottles that they sell, okay, per month. In the situation, one of them is decreasing so many bottles per month, and the other one is increasing so much per month. Okay, so what we need to do is kind of label, if we're writing this in terms of y equals mx plus b, right now we could define our b and our m. We know if we start with something, this is going to be our, let's use a different color here, this is going to be our b, and if we're declining by 55 per month, that's going to be our m. And same thing here, we're starting with 2,200 and we're increasing 250 per month. So that's going to be our m and b, but what does the y and the m really represent in our y equals mx plus b? Well, if we're looking at this right, b being what we start with, that's the starting number of bottles, m being how much we're gaining or losing per month. The month there, that tells us what x is going to be. So remember we talked about before, whatever follows the keyword per, that's going to be our x value, okay? So we can let x be the number of months from now, okay? So x is the number of months in terms of, am I declining, am I increasing? In Gizmo, we're declining by 55 bottles per month, we're decreasing by 55 bottles per month, and with New Age, we're increasing by 250 per month. So that's going to be our x, which means our y is the total number of bottles that we're selling that particular month. Or in another way to put it is the total monthly sales, okay? So it's the total monthly sales, okay? So now we can kind of put our two equations together. So writing the first equation, we have y being the total monthly sales is equal to, what's our rate of change for Gizmo? Well, we're declining by 55 per month, okay? If it's going down, is that going to be a positive slope or a negative slope? Negative. So we're taking away 55 every single month. Now, since we don't know the number of months, we just let that be x, okay? And then we're starting with 6,500. Now, I just want to point out to you, you could flip this around. You could say that it's y equals 6,500 minus 55x. Whoops, forgot my 5. And the reason I want to point this out to you is really what this is saying is that I start with 6,500. A month passes, I subtract 55. Another month passes, I subtract another 55. Another month passes, I subtract another 55, and so on, okay? But since we don't want to rewrite that over and over again, and we don't know how many months we're talking about, however many months from now, we just say minus 55 times the number of months from now, okay? So really, we're starting with this, and we're taking away 55 every month, okay? Either way, both of these equations are correct. I'm going to leave the one that we have there at the bottom, but that's how we can set up this equation. Negative 55x for the number of months plus the amount of bottles that we started with that month. Then the second guy again, total monthly sales is equal to, we're starting with 2,200, but we're increasing, our rate is increasing by a positive 250 per month plus what we started with, the 2,200. Okay, so this would be my two equations that represents what we have. We started with, and then what we're increasing or decreasing by. Now that I have a system of equations, what they want us to find is if the rates remain the same, and about how many months will the sales for both companies be the same, okay? Well, again, what did we let months be? Months is our x value, right? So we want to find x. Well, we've looked at solving these before. This turns into a substitution situation. Both of these equations are solved for one variable. I can just substitute one of the expressions into the other for y and then solve for x, okay? So since I'm kind of running out of room here, maybe I can write this on this next question. I hope you guys are writing smaller than me. I'm going to just break it down here, and then we can create more room for this next question later. So I have the two equations, y equals a negative 55x plus 6,500. And then I have y is equal to 250x plus 2,200. Okay, so again, this is a substitution situation. I have one of these solved for one variable, so I can take what this guy is equal to for y and substitute it into the other equation for y. So we'd have 250x plus 2,200 is equal to a negative 55x plus 6,500. Then solving for x, we want to get our x's on one side, so I'm going to add the 55 over to the other side so we can get our x's on the same side. And also because it would keep things positive, since 250 is bigger, that would keep things positive on that side. So adding that together, we get our 305x plus 2,200 equals 6,500. Two-step equation here, I can subtract 2,200 from both sides. Okay, so we have 6,500, and then we have minus 2,200. Subtracting that out, whoops, there we go. Subtracting that out, these guys go away, and we get 3, looks like so 4,300. Okay, and then dividing by 305 from both sides. Divide that by 305. If you want to use a calculator on this part, that's fine. This guy goes away and we get x is equal to a roughly, actually you're going to need a calculator because it's going to come out to be a decimal, roughly 14.10. Okay, so x, remember, represents the number of months. So what we're saying is both of these companies are going to sell the same number of bottles in about 14 months. Okay, so 14.10 months if we're rounding it out. So in about 14 months, we're going to sell about the same number of bottles. Now, what we want to determine is not only when they'll sell about the same number of bottles, but how many bottles will each company be selling at that time. Well, remember, this is what we did before. If we found X, what did you do after that? You went back, plugged it into one of the equations, and then solved for Y. So we could plug this back into one of our equations. Let's plug it back into this guy over here. So you'd have Y is equal to 250 times 14.10 plus 2,200. Okay, so in our calculator, we can take 250 times 14.10, and then you're going to add 2,200. Okay, so when you do that, you get y is about 5,725. Okay, so the way we would interpret this is in about 14 months, they would both sell 5,725 bottles. Okay, so that would be our answer of what we would want to put down. In about, I'm going to put it over here, in about 14 months, they will both sell 5,725 bottles. Okay?